Today I'm joined by Tom Putnam and David Cross to discuss their film, The Dark Divide. Based on the story of renowned butterfly expert Robert Pyle, who embarked on a life-changing trek through one of America's most important unprotected wildlands in the summer of 1995. This is easily one of David Cross's best performances and one of my favorite films of the year. Dark Divide is currently available on VOD, and for more information on how to see it, go to darkdividefilm.com. Hope you enjoy the show. Thanks.
I come from the documentary world, and for whatever reason, most of my films involve me following people around as they're going through tough times and trying to come out of it better for the experience. And when I read Bob's book, it checked a lot of those same boxes for me. I mean, it definitely spoke to me in terms of a really unique look at what it means to be a man and trying to stand up for yourself, taking control of your life, and having grown up really close to where the movie was filmed, it reminded me of this amazing place where I spent a lot of my childhood, like camping and hiking and fishing. So it was definitely a central theme for me in terms of why I wanted to spend the last 10 years trying to turn it into a movie.
Yeah, this has been a long road for you. How'd you keep up with that? I mean, to have this take 10 years to get it to come together, and at what point did you see David in the central role here?
I'm like, remember that movie WALL-E, the little robot that just keeps like cleaning even when everything else is just like the whole planet is just a burnt cinder or whatever. I'm like the WALL-E of film producers. I just like keep going and bouncing off stuff. And it was weird. Normally when I write something, I picture this sort of imaginary person or different actors, but this was a real person, Bob Pyle. So I always pictured him, and I was really kind of concerned about that. And then I met David, and I heard how David talked about the film, and all of a sudden I pictured David in the role, and I got really excited. I mean, there's not a lot of people who can do a movie like this. I mean, there's 35 minutes where there's no dialogue. And that's David. Like, he holds your attention, and he takes you to like through the comedy and through the drama, and it has a lot of both.
And then, David, what was it about the role that drew you in? What was your initial take on it that made this something you wanted to do?
Similar to Tom's, I'm drawn to certain kinds of stories, and the idea of this kind of person, and the descriptions we talked about, he's a bit introverted, he's bookish, he's a gentle guy, and I play him more naive than he actually was when he embarked on this journey. But he's his wife was so proactive and extroverted, and he was kind of introverted and not very proactive. And then just to go on this journey that you're ill prepared for, both physically and mentally, and then to go through it and face potential death a couple times, and then come out the other end a different person and grow within it, and also part of the grieving process that one would go through. It's a really juicy role. It's a juicy thing to be offered. I don't get considered for this kind of stuff very often, and had to turn down Joker, and Joaquin was right there to snap that up, but jumped on this one, and it was the story, it was the writing, it was the and then ultimately meeting Tom and vibing with him, and because if you're going to do something like this, and we worked on the script for almost a year. He had written the script, and I would just make suggestions, but he was very amenable and open to them, and he, if it worked, it worked, and it was very collaborative. And then you're going to be in this really difficult situation. The shooting itself was difficult, and there were no amenities. There weren't like big trailers and craft services and all that kind of stuff. It was a very tough thing. And, you know, we were beholden to whatever, you know, the gods gave us. So if it's raining, if you see a scene and it's raining, it's because it started raining, and we didn't have the luxury of going, okay, well, we'll throw this tent up and we'll shoot this scene. There was none of that. So we just shot and plowed forward, and getting to some of these locations that are stunning, just beautiful, gorgeous. You know, it took some time. It took you know, you got a skeleton crew out there lugging all the equipment into the interior of these woods, way past where you can get a vehicle anywhere near them. And, you know, it was, so, you know, making sure that I could vibe with Tom, because we all knew it was going to be a difficult shoot. Nobody wants like a diva actor or a diva director, you know, so all that combined, you know, kind of made me go, yeah, absolutely, let's do this.
How much of this were you finding on the day as far as location scouting ahead of time and knowing these are the areas that you want to do something? Because it could have changed day to day, minute to minute, what it looked like and the aesthetic of the film. Well,
these guys did some extensive, and Tom has hiked some of these very woods and like his whole life, and was familiar at least with the overall part of it. And in some places you're not going to get access unless somebody from the government allows you access. So you know, I mean, we stole some shots, but we didn't steal the whole movie. But
I wish.
So I mean, it was, you know, intensively and extensively researched by Tom and the you know, the locations people. But having said that, we did have a couple of locations that fell out, or there was a problem with the locations guy, and sometimes he didn't show up, or we didn't have access to things, and so we had to improvise from there. Tom, I'll let you speak more to that.
Yeah, I despite spending 10 years trying to get the movie made, I stupidly scheduled it when not all the snow had melted. So we'd usually finish shooting, and then I would jump in a car with the AD and the DP and like race around trying to figure out what roads had opened up in the last 24 hours. There were definitely a few, I don't know where we're filming tomorrow, days. I mean, David, do you want to, you tell it so much better than me, the lava tunnel?
Sure. Yeah. Well, that you guys had, before we started shooting, you had, seen that. You've been there because you were describing it to me, and it sounded amazing. And in the script, I was looking forward to that more than any other part. But even though you were very descriptive and extensively told me what the deal was, it did not prepare me at all for how surreal and crazy, and it just didn't seem real, the whole thing. So see, basically, to get to the lava tubes that we shot in, you have to go up this, you know, you're on a mountain, a volcanic mountain, and you have to drive up this dirt road, gravel, just like, you know, rocks and dirt. Then you're already in the middle of nowhere, and you drive for miles on this road that's just kind of cut through trees. And then you come up to this rusted old metal gate. Nothing, not a grand gate at all, but just this little gate. And there's a code, you know, you punch it in, you know, you click it in with the numbers, and then you unlock the thing and you open up the gate, and then you drive another roughly 3.5 miles down and even, you know, a dirt road that can only fit one car on it. So, and it's 3.5 miles long. So if somebody else is coming, you're kind of fucked. So, then it ends up, and you're going through the woods, dense woods, and then you end up at a big clearing, and I'd say the clearing was probably like half an acre, you know, cleared, and there's, in the middle of it is an old A-frame house, there's nothing to prepare you for what you're about to experience. So it's just an A-frame kind of cabin, small. lived in. You go in, there's like a very small kind of living room area that's right off the kitchen, and everything's kind of like 50s, 60s oven, and like an old microwave from the 70s or something, and then kind of a beat up rocking, tufted rocking chair, recliner type thing, and a old box TV on a crate. And, and then there's like the bathroom, and next to the bathroom is a door, just a regular old door. And you open this door and it's immediately it's 30 degrees colder, just opening the door. And right in front of you, and it's pitch black, right in front of you is a massive industrial double strength steel stairwell that descends. I don't know how much, but it's got to be 100 feet. And you have to clip on a little security thing. You have to wear a miner's hat, with a hat with a light on it. And it looks like the, unassuming entrance to a Bond villain's lair, like deep underground where there's computers and all kinds of stuff, and IBM missiles and ICB missiles, whatever. And then that's the lava tube that's been there for whatever, I don't know, 100 million years. And you descend, and it's there's no light, no ventilation, less oxygen. It's wet. It's really cold. We were shooting in the middle of the summer, and you go down there, and it was like 39 degrees and 40 degrees and wet. And it was one of, if not the trippiest things I've ever experienced. It's crazy. And you're in the middle of nowhere, and there's a house. You have to go through this guy's house to get to it that they built over. It's just the weirdest thing.
And did you find the history of this house at all? How that got there? Getting those
materials? A little bit about that.
Oh, I know that. Yeah. The owner of it, I forget, grandfather, great grandfather owned the land and was walking along one day and just like fell through the ground and discovered this giant, like half-mile long, you could park a 747 in it, lava tube, and they built a house over the entrance, and they just had this giant, private, amazing, super scary lava tunnel.
It's nuts. It's nuts.
It's crazy.
That, it's also one of those things where you think, if this guy, was at home and he was drinking and he had to get up in the middle of the night to take a piss, and he went to literally the wrong door, which is next to the bathroom door, like what would happen? And how did they get all the steel?
Right.
They must have done that first and then built the house, because you couldn't get all, this is like industrial, double diamond steel plating type.
It doesn't look homemade, that kind of thing.
No. The stairs that go down, which descend quite a way, and there's like little platforms along the way that they kind of cut at 45-degree angles, go down a bit, and there's another little platform, you go down some more. So, it's got to be, I don't know, 6, 7 stories, 8 stories, I don't know.
Jesus. Yeah,
it's nuts. It's crazy. And there's no light. It's just, it's a weird, and then the floor is lava. So it's jagged, solid,
right.
rock. It's crazy.
And then we're like, David, in this scene, you're only wearing your underpants. Run. You're going to run from this end of the tunnel to that end of the tunnel.
So were any of those cuts then legitimate from running through that and falling around? Because by
the end of the movie, some of those things some of my scrapes and bruises were real.
Yeah, the one on your shoulder looked legitimate. If not great makeup, but there was one on.
Well, our makeup lady was amazing too. But a lot of the stuff on the legs was real. I remember that. I don't remember the one on the shoulder, but definitely stuff around my legs were pretty were real scratches and scrapes and cuts and bruises.
If you watch the film a third time, which I totally recommend, you'll see David has some black and blue marks right here, and that's actually from the scene where the logger grabs him and shoves him against the bulldozer. He was he kept missing the straps and basically grabbing David's like chest meat and just lifting him up.
He was in the moment.
That particular scene really rang true. I live in Arizona, so that kind of felt like the last 8 months here. So
yeah. I bet
it did.
And there was something in the film. This actually has one of my favorite shots of any film this year. I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about it. There's a moment where David decides not to capture the butterfly, and then you pull back through the foliage, and he's framed in the center of the screen. And I will want to hang that on my wall. That shot is absolutely gorgeous, and I think it really does encapsulate so much of what the film was about for me. Could you just talk a little bit about that particular shot? Either Tom or David.
I'll start. There's all these moments that I don't normally see in films where we just get to sit and like observe and do what I like to do. The reason we go in nature is just soak it in, right? And that's one of those. And I just love the idea of letting people know, like, hey, let's just watch this guy sit and think. There's another scene like that. He's in the tent after he first has a big moment. And the film originally actually was going to have a bunch. Robert Pyle, who wrote the book, is also a poet. And we were going to have poetry over a number of sections, including that shot. And then we finally realized, oh, wow, we don't need this. Like just sitting and watching David tells us so much more. And that's one of those little moments there that I love, because I didn't know where the film was going to go and what David was going to bring to it. And that says a lot.
And I appreciate you bringing that or scene up. It really is. It does encapsulate a lot of what the theme of the movie is, and shows it's subtly done, but it's still kind of a bigger moment where he's not going to do the thing that he's been doing, that he ostensibly is on this hike to do, and knowing it's a very rare butterfly and could would mean something significant. It's a cool little moment that I think is not, thank God there's no poetry or swelling music or anything like that, which other movies might, make it a bigger moment that way, but it's nice and it sits there, and I'm glad you recognized it.
Well, it puts confidence in the viewer where we're allowed to interpret the moment and actually appreciate it instead of being handheld by the music or the poetry. And it's always nice when you give us a little bit of credit. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Yeah. My least favorite thing is when I see a movie and it's like a shot of the Pentagon and then it's like, the Pentagon. And you're like, oh, it's going to be that movie. Okay. Earth. We're on Earth. I mean, this is a very introspective movie.
And then how are people reacting to this so far? Because it's not what I was expecting. And I'm so glad it wasn't what I was expecting. And I got something much different out of it. And that's why I kind of need to go through it a couple of times, because it is one of those things you can kind of sit with for a while. And I was thinking about it quite a bit over the last 24 hours. And it's just something that I'm wondering if people are okay with that. Those two different things. If I think of like Bobcat's movie, Willow Creek, it has something similar, because there's an ending shot of that I think is about 20 minutes long where it doesn't cut. And it's a Bigfoot movie that's absolutely predicated on performance, and you don't see that. And I wasn't expecting to be hit so hard by a movie that has Bigfoot as a central theme with David Cross in it. So thank you for not living up to my expectations.
Well, the Bigfoot thing is so
small.
It's small, and I think that's a wise choice. And you never see Bigfoot. It's suggested, but it's up to the viewer to, just like in real life, to whether you believe in it or not. And it becomes symbolic of different things to different people throughout the movie, you know?
Absolutely.
100%.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. Annie was telling me that I needed to get you out of here by 27. So thank you for doing this today. It was really a pleasure.
It's look, a guy fucks an owl. It's not that big a deal. It's a thing that happens, and we wanted to explore that relationship. And I know people are not expecting that turn, and I think we did it right. It's very. I know Tom did a lot of DPing on the Red Shoe Diaries, so he had a lot of that ready to go, and it's very soft. There's a lot of gauze and Vaseline, and I thought it was. I thought it was a gentle exploration of the idea.
We wanted to modernize, Pink Flamingos for